Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Ethics at 8, where we are discussing previous year questions relating to KPSC and UPSC ethics paper. I'm Dr. Arjun Bopanna, founder of Nama KPSC Academy. So let us see today's question, which was asked in previous year KPSC exam. Very simple question. It's talking about ethical dilemma in government and private institution. Write a note, meaning what are the ethical dilemmas that one faces within civil services or government and private institution. Okay, and towards the conclusion, you can add how do you address these ethical dilemmas. Okay, so that is something very simple question. Okay, but so here, how do you fetch more marks? By writing more points, more dimensions with respect to these things. So what is ethical dilemma? Then what are the ethical dilemmas faced in government? What are the ethical dilemmas faced in private institution? Write in points, give examples to justify them. Is that okay? So write down this. Okay, it's a 15 marker, 8 to 10 minutes question. 8 to 10 minutes time for you to write. Okay, write it and then compare it with the discussion that we are going to have. Okay, so I hope you all have written the answer for this particular question. So now it's time for us to discuss. Compare your answer. If you have not written, pause the video, again write it. Don't hesitate. See, writing is difficult, I understand, but you have to break that barrier. Once you start getting the hang of writing answer, the answers will start flowing. Until then, it becomes difficult. You feel like running away. You feel like throwing your papers. You feel like, but listening is very passive. It's okay to listen, but what will really help you is actively writing an answer and then comparing and identifying the mistakes, then making a mental note of those mistakes and making sure that you incorporate that in the next question that you are going to practice. Okay, write a note about ethical dilemma. So basically, the structure is very simple. What is ethical dilemma? Okay, define what is ethical dilemma, and you can give some example here itself. Okay, then you write about ethical dilemmas faced within the government. So as civil servant, what ethical dilemmas are you going to face? Second, in private organization or private sector, what are the ethical dilemmas? And in the conclusion, okay, you can write, because it's a note. They're not asking you to discuss, etc. It's a note. Just simply elaborate, explain. Okay, write a note. So simply explain these dilemmas, elaborate it, give examples, and at the conclusion, maybe within this also, but overall, if you write a conclusion as to how to resolve these ethical dilemmas. Okay, just a brief note on how to resolve these ethical dilemma. You don't have to go in detail of it. Okay, so this is what your structure or your answer should contain. Beautifully, if you see, this is your paper. Okay, define ethical dilemmas and write a little bit about why ethical dilemmas emerge in an organization. Now, ethical dilemma in government, write it in broad heading, underline that, and write points. Okay, and in each point when you write, give examples. This way you have to write. Then next page may or the next heading will be ethical dilemmas in private organization. That's how you write your answer. It should have a beautiful flow to it. Okay, with examples, and then there will be marks that is given to you will be very high. All right, let's see what is ethical dilemma. See, basically, when there is conflict in ethical values that you face, that is called as ethical dilemmas. Okay, two equally cherished values sometimes come in conflict. Okay, see, for example, transparency and safeguarding information, or what is that? Confidentiality. Yes, transparency and confidentiality. So there is a conflict of interest. Sometimes information should not be disclosed. Confidentiality should be there. Like, for example, to protect the interest of individuals, privacy, etc. We need to safeguard the information. But at the same time, as civil servant, we have to disclose this information. So there's a conflict. How much of information are you going to disclose? Okay, so there's a conflict between that. Okay, so the principle of justice and equality. So the justice says that You need to ensure that the poor are treated better, welfare to the minorities, marginalized section. But equality says that everybody should be given equal treatment. So when we come up with schemes, we provide reservation, for example. Reservation means we are differentially treating somebody else compared to others. A poor person is treated differently compared to a rich person. So here there is again conflict of values. So that is what is called as ethical dilemma. So I hope you understood that definition should be there. So you should have a proper definition or a keyword in your definition. So a situation where there is a conflict between two or more equally cherished moral standards. Okay, both are ethical, both are good, both are important. But which one are you going to choose? See, if a question about good versus bad, it's very simple. You will choose good. But if a question is good versus good, then that is ethical dilemma. Equally cherished moral standards. Is that okay? So dilemma of conflict between certain prima facie duties. Duties, prima facie duties, duties of equality, duties of justice, duties of transparency, duties of accountability. So when we have duties, there will be conflicting duties. See, for example, tomorrow when you have a family, you have a duty towards your children. But at the same time, you have a duty towards your organization. Let's say tomorrow there is some opening in your company, okay, and you have to choose somebody. So your duty as your father or mother will say that I will appoint my son or daughter. But your duty as a member of that organization will say I have to promote merit. Which one are you going to choose? Correct? No, like this day-to-day basis, we face such ethical dilemmas. Should I come to the class or should I go to my friend's wedding? Simple example, right? So both are correct only. You have to attend class also. You have to support your friend also. Which one are you going to choose? That is ethical dilemma. Is that understood? So what is prima facie duty, right? Commonly accepted moral principle. You being a good friend, yes. You wanting to take care and want to get selected to civil services and serve the society, that's also duties. Which one are you going to choose? That is ethical dilemma. Now, I have listed some of the ethical dilemmas. In your answer, you might have written this or any other dimension. It's good. You have to write it like this, list it, and give example. So very quickly, see confidentiality versus transparency. See confidentiality. For example, even in our constitution, ministers, executive ministers, they take the oath of confidentiality. That means they should not disclose certain information. But at the same time, you have Right to Information Act. So that is a conflicting. Should they tell? Should they not tell? In the interest, sometimes see Data Security Act. I mean, data. There's a bill, no, that was introduced relating to data. Okay, data protection bill, right? You remember, if you recall, you can go through it. Data protection bill. So it is telling you to disclose the data. In certain circumstances, you should not, in the interest of privacy, safety, security of the country, etc. So that isn't it a conflict? To what extent we have to deal with it? So like this, you have to give examples, like data protection bill. That's an example. Is that okay? Next, impartiality versus dedication to weaker section. You should be partial towards whom? Weaker section. But at the same time, you have to uphold equality, impartiality. Okay. Same way, we also have, conflict of interest. Okay. So personal interest versus public interest, where you have to decide whether it is going to benefit you for your self-growth versus the interest of the public. Okay. Abiding by rules and regulation versus whistleblowing. When you come across certain information, you will go to the media and you will disclose, or are you going to report within the system? Okay. Resource allocation. Limited resources are there. To whom are you going to allocate? Are you going to allocate for roads? Are you going to allocate for hospitals, rural development? That is again an ethical dilemma. Client service versus public interest. Are you going to serve any particular group or individual, or are you going to take care of the public interest? See, for example, building dams. So this is an example, building dams. Okay, so it may cause harm to a particular community which is living next to the rivers, but it overall benefits the public. right? Similarly, profit versus welfare, especially in public sector units, PSUs. Okay, so are you going to make profit, or are you going to be profit oriented, or are you going to be service oriented? Like for example, KSRTC. Okay, so KSRTC buses, should they focus on profit or should they focus on welfare? Should they go or allocate buses to even remote villages even if they don't make profit, or should they only concentrate on making profit? Okay, not illegally. We are not talking about illegal money or anything. Profit. Government also should make money to remain sustainable. Or should it spend every money? Like see, for example, Karnataka budget this year was a deficit budget. Okay, but it was welfare oriented. Deficit means they're making loss. So Atara, those conflicts are there, whether you are going to choose that or this. Okay, so like that. That's in government. Same thing we can observe even in private sector. List it down, give examples. Is that okay? We're not going into the details, but these are some examples which you can use. So corporate social responsibility versus profit. You might have seen many companies doing good. Education, healthcare, ke liye they contribute. So will that affect their profit, etc.? Similarly, employee welfare versus cost cutting. Should we provide certain benefits to our employees, give them health, take care of their insurance, etc.? Or should we just simply focus on cost? Because ultimately private sector will be, their objective is to make profit. Okay, but at the same time, should we take care of the sun? Then product safety versus profitability. See, for example, cars, should it be designed such a way to make more profit, or we should first take care of the safety? See, for example, in Indian case, everybody expects cheap car, mileage, high mileage. We don't look at safety. So should the car company be focusing? Some big companies still do that in India. So the safety standard in India is very different from that of Western country. Means we are giving priority to profitability over welfare. So such dilemmas exist every day in a company. Is that okay? Similarly, data versus data utilization, privacy versus supplier relationship versus ethical sourcing. Should we, as a company, manufacturing company, if we are sourcing raw materials, should we, support the supplier who is been supplying us for for many years, or should we be focusing on merit, etc.? Okay, then marketing ethics. So in marketing, they try to use celebrities. Okay, they try to provide information which may not be completely true, but they want to do it to sell it, right? So when a celebrity endorses a product, everybody buys it. So there was a case where when a product was bad, should we punish the celebrity? Yes, so such kind of marketing. Is marketing good? Are we cheating, or is marketing good? That's the ethical dilemma, right? Similarly, intellectual property right versus innovation. For example, among pharmaceuticals, they would have spent crores of rupees on developing a product. Okay, so should we protect their rights? Okay, or should we allow it for the welfare? Innovation versus welfare of society. Like for example, evergreening and things like that, compulsory licensing. These all you would have studied in economics. Okay, so compulsory licensing, where in the interest of the society, they can take over the intellectual property rights of pharmaceutical company. So that's an example. Should we allow them to make profit, or should we benefit the society? Corporate governance versus transparency. Like this. These are all the dilemmas. Give examples, list it. If you have written 2, 3, make sure you add these points. More points, more marks. Okay, so this is how you are going to write your answers. And then you can just write a small note in the conclusion as to how to resolve this ethical dilemma. We do face ethical dilemma in our life, day-to-day basis. How do we resolve it? By relying on moral theories, utilitarianism, what we discussed in our previous videos. So like that. So you should rely on moral principles. As we have read in our classes, if your actions are based on moral principles, they are not unethical. So rely on moral principles. Rely on systems and processes, decision-making process. In civil services, you have a decision-making process. You follow that. It will not be considered unethical. Follow the rules, laws, and regulations. Like this, you write down to conclude your answer. Is that okay, guys? So I hope this was useful. Compare your answer with what we have discussed now and make sure that whatever points are missing, you add it to your answer. Okay, so another day we will come up with another video with another question. I hope these are useful. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like.